what are events, why you should use them, and how, in 4 minutes. So what are events? To put it simply, with an event you can subscribe different methods to it, so that when the event is activated, all of the methods that are subscribed to it will also be called. When we use references, we have lots of direct reliance between our classes, and if we lose one of those references, we get a null reference exception. However, with events, if there's ever a case where an object that we have subscribed a method from is lost, that part just won't activate, but the program will still run and all of the other methods that are subscribed will still activate. Events help decrease coupling between classes. This means that classes will focus more on themselves rather than doing the jobs of multiple classes altogether, and events provide a way for decoupled classes to communicate effectively. Otherwise, this would end up getting very messy later on. As well as this, UnityEvents can be set in the editor, which is pretty pog. Now onto the how. First off, we're going to make a game controller object, set it to the middle of the screen, tag it as game controller so we can find it easier in script, and then we're going to make a canvas. It's going to be world space canvas, and I'm not going to get into how we're making it, just have some sort of text element to display your score, essentially. I'll do this in another video, maybe, and we're also going to tag this as UI controller, because we're also going to need to find it in code. We're going to make the game controller and UI controller scripts and attach them to the game controller object and the UI controller object. In the game controller, we're just going to have a simple public variable which is going to store the score, and we're going to have it as a public getter and a private setter, so we can get it outside of the script, but we can only set it inside the script. Then we're going to make a public void increment score, and this is just going to be our function that we're going to use to increment the score. Next, we're going to make the UI controller class. In here, we're going to reference tmpro, which is again another video, and we're just going to make a reference to that text object that we had. We're going to have a public void update score, and we're also going to have a reference to the game controller so we can access that score and put it into text. So on start, we're going to find the game controller object by using the find object with tag, like I said earlier, and we're going to get the component game controller. And then in update score, we're just going to update the score text to be equal to whatever the integer score in the game controller is turned to a string. Next, we're going to make a coin object. So we're just going to make a 2D square, make it more like a coin color. We're going to add a box collider 2D onto it and set isTrigger to true. And we're going to make a coin C# script and attach it to the coin and rename the coin to coin. Now in the coin script, we're going to make sure to include using Unity engine.events. And we're going to make a public Unity event, call it coin collect. We're going to use the function onTriggerEnter2D to check for whether we've collided with the player by using collision.compareTagPlayer. If we have, we're going to invoke the event. We currently don't know if it's going to do anything if we invoke that event, so we're going to make a test method, and inside we're just going to do a simple print statement to test it. And also we're going to destroy the coin after we invoke the event. So now if we look in our inspector, we can actually see that event in the inspector, and we can assign different things to it. However, first we're going to make sure that the player is tagged as player so that the collision worked that we mentioned earlier, and we're going to assign our coin's test method to the event that we just created. We're also going to make the coin into a prefab so that we can duplicate them many times and just drag and drop them into the scene. Now when we play, you can see that whenever we walk into a coin, the event fires, and they also delete themselves. Now that's working, let's try and add those score updating functions that we made onto our coin collect event. However, as you can see, whenever we add these functions and try to apply them to the prefab, they won't save across the prefab. So what we need to do is we need to add the listeners through code in this instance. To do this, we're just going to go into our start function, and we're going to assign to our coin collect event, we're going to do coin collect.add listener, game object.find object with tag, and we're going to find our game controller and assign that increment score function to the coin collect event. And we're going to do the exact same for the UI controller, but instead of increment event, change it to update score. Now, when we go back and we play the game, we can see that whenever we go into a coin, it's now doing those other methods. As you can see, the score has updated in the game controller as well.
The end.